Geek. There we go. Sound good. I'm eating, so I'm thinking people can hear me. Yeah, no kidding. All right. All right, down to the last minute.
Aha. Found the button.
They're
I am
hiding
now
them.
root beer flavored jelly beans that someone sent me.
What kind of flavors you got?
Root beer flavored.
Any good?
It's extremely good. Just a whole bag of A&W root beer flavored gummies of jelly beans. Fabulous.
Do we need to delay this just so you can finish the jelly beans?
No, this is the pre-show. The pre-show should be just us eating snacks from now on. 10 minutes before the go live, just us eating snacks.
That's right. Or picking our nose or something. 10,
Yeah.
9.
No, I don't know, we got 10 seconds.
2, 1, boom. Well, hi, everyone. So, some of you have probably seen us before. Those that have not, welcome to our new home. We are members of the World Foam Alliance. Welcome to the YouTube channel. And as always, we have named our show. And our show is, what are we calling it, Chalo?
This is Get Off My Lawn with Captain Xavier and Al the Geek. And yeah, should be fun. We're going to talk about Nerf. We're going to talk about the hobby. We're going to talk about whatever comes to mind. We're going to talk about root beer flavored jelly beans, Nerf news, all that kind of stuff. And then you guys will have the opportunity to actually call in and ask your questions or get advice or whatever. And you'll get about 5 minutes, at which point we'll tell you to get off our lawn. And then we'll move on to the next topic or the next caller. To get connected in, it's all done through the World Foam Alliance Discord. Link will be down in the description probably. You go there, you join in the on air, is that what it's called? Live on air. And from there, you can request to get put in. You'll get to ask your question. You'll get your time, and then you'll get off our lawn. So,
Most likely you'll be invited.
What?
Most likely you'll be invited. Otherwise, everyone's going to be waving their hands at our moderator.
Yeah, I don't know how that's actually being handled. I'm not responsible for that. They will pick someone, they will show up, and then we will give them guff and grief and advice. And there is a wicked delay over here.
So again, for those that don't know, just to bring you all up to speed, the WFA is the World Foam Alliance. It is the brainchild of one Derek Sykes. And basically what it is our foray into creating a centralized place where you can find everything and anything related to foam flinging, specifically players, groups, or other things where it's a centralized location where you all can come with to find what you need.
Yeah, so you'll be able to register on their website, worldfoamalliance.org, and once they get all of the features up and running, the next wave of features is supposed to hit in September and then more later on. You'll be able to find the club that's closest to you or the event that's closest to you and get connected. There'll also be ways to connect you to the various resources that exist, because there is a ridiculous amount of resources for this hobby. They're just really bad at advertising them. So that's part of what we're doing here. So where can you get advice on how to repair your blaster, upgrade your blaster? Where are the best places to buy blasters, buy parts for your blasters, meet up with people to talk about that? All of those resources exist, but if you don't know where they are, they're kind of hard to find until you actually get into the hobby. And this is to help people get in, because it's a hugely popular toy, foam flinging. Everyone's got a Nerf, well, pretty much everyone's probably got a Nerf blaster or a Dart Zone blaster or a Busby blaster or whatever. But most people don't realize that there's probably a club nearby because we're lousy at advertising. So this is an effort to bring the knowledge of our club to as many people as possible to help grow the hobby, both the public Nerf war type, casual stuff, but also the competitive stuff, humans versus zombies. All of that is all under this umbrella, and we're hoping to grow it. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're about. Hopefully it works.
I think it will. So I think, you know what we're going to do? I think it's about that time. So, again, you can follow the links, get on the Discord, get on the stage, and you know what? I think it might be time for our first caller. So how we got our first caller? Get on our lawn. You got about 5 minutes, and there will be a timer.
It's happening. What are we doing? Who is it? Who are you? What do you want? What are you doing on my lawn?
Turn on your mic.
Unmute yourself.
And you're gone. Next.
That was quick.
For the record,
get off the lawn. They just got off it.
I think they got off before we even asked them to. All right, next. Let's try another caller. Get on our lawn. You got 5 minutes.
That'll happen. What's going on here?
There we go.
Ooh, hello.
Who are you?
Hi.
I can do one better.
What are you doing on my lawn?
Spots and Blasters. Longtime fan of both of you guys. My question is,
What do you got?
what do you guys think about, you guys talked a little bit about the casualness of the hobby, and I always promote that in my local groups. But more importantly, there seems to be this mentality that you have to be pro level. You have to push to pro level. And I work with a lot of like church groups, kids organizations type things. And it really annoys me to hear that kind of angle where it's like, well, if it's full length art, why even bother with it type of mentality.
Oh yeah, I am vehemently opposed to elitism and gatekeeping in this hobby. It baffles me that it exists. But it exists in every hobby. And a lot of that has to do with we have a hugely broad hobby. It's everything from, two kids in their backyard with a couple of jolts all the way up to things like Jared's Epic Nerf Battle or End War or UMBC. It's stuff like Afterworlds where it's done with LARP. It's casual wars in public parks. And people will often only focus on one section of that and assume that that's all of it. So if you're into the high-powered stuff, if that's all you do, you tend to forget that everything else exists, and it causes people to hyper-focus on, well, why are you doing it if it wouldn't be perfect for what I do? You're like, because I'm not doing what you are doing. I'm in a park with a bunch of kids. I can't have a 300 FPS blaster there. That's not okay. And then we also have to see it the other way around. If someone will do a beautiful cosmetic job to make their blaster look as realistic as possible because they're going to go to a private property in, say, Germany, to a World War II LARP, where having a blaster that doesn't look hyper-realistic would ruin the immersion. But they post it online, and all the people who play public wars in America freak out because how dare you make something look real? And there's no wrong way to do the hobby unless you're causing someone else to not have fun. So yeah, I do both. So I host public or private wars on my property, which is higher cap, which is adult only. It's CQB. We do the competitive stuff. But then I also help run Fort Borst, which caps at 150 and has little kids running around with stock blasters, having an absolute blast because we've tailored the games to make sure they're fun for everyone, no matter what blaster level you're at, no matter what play level you're at, no matter what age group you're at. Those games are designed specifically to be fun for everyone. But then we have other ones where, no, this is competitive. This is 250 FPS. This is 3v3, rigid rules, 90-second rounds. A 10-year-old's not going to enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I certainly do, and people who like really tuning their blasters to be as accurate and as long range as possible, that gives them an outlet to do that, because they can't do that at a public war. So, Al, you want to actually say something? I'm talking.
Yeah. Kind of funny without cutting you off. So
use half the time, you get the other half. Go.
there we go. So basically, like as always, regardless of what you think is happening in the hobby, especially if you're in control of your own group, it is your group. and appreciate the fact that you're putting the effort together to actually put this battle. And so because it is your group, you can therefore dictate the rules. So a prime example, I'm in Virginia, but then I am actually an avid player over in the Maryland Foam Alliance. And the way they do it is amazing, because even throughout the day, they might start off for the first 2 or 3 hours of the day, include everybody, but subsequently it gets higher and higher. But at the same time, they also know there are events where people would like it to be a higher FPS and more like hobbyists, and everyone wants to go play their new toys. Well, then it's not because they don't then at this event say, no, none of you are out here. They then just create special events where it's like invite only, cap of this many people, and then these are the rigid rules. So I think, like anything else, regardless of what other people say, thank you for doing what you're doing. Just make it the way you want to make it. And if people feel that strongly about it, they don't like it how you're doing, even though they're not to have their input, well, guess what? We now have the World Foam Alliance. There will be tools in there, and they can go make their own group where it is high hobby, high powered. That's the thing about this. It is everything. Look, like myself and Captain are a great example. What does he do? He takes blasters and makes them ridiculously awesome. He's got a smart gun with a ridiculous rate of fire. What do? I paint them and make them look like things you had in your comic books, but some of them don't fire that well. Yet at the same time, it all works. It's all amazing. So that's my thought on that.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll get off your head. Thanks, guys.
Get off my lawn!
Excellent question. Excellent question. Very important topic for our hobby. It is something that, and it's going to become more so as the hobby grows, because we're going to be hopefully getting lots and lots of new people who don't know anything about that high-end stuff, and they're going to be very confused. And if they show up and get hit with elitism and gatekeeping, and if you're not rocking a 300 FPS blaster, why are you even here? They're going to leave, and we don't want that. We want people to join. We'll get them there. We'll eventually get them to that level, slowly but surely. It's power creep is a thing, but we want it to be fun.
We have to remind people, like when you first got into this hobby, your first day you didn't show up with a 300 FPS blaster. You didn't show up with a Captain Slug or something else. You probably had a toy you played with. So kind of it's almost you got to remind people, I get where you're at now, but remember where you came from, because we all come from the same place.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, shall we try someone else?
Yeah,
let's go. Get on my lawn. You got 5 minutes. What is your name?
Hi, I'm Kelly. And
where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and just wanted to quick shout out, say thanks to Al for helping with our sponsor event for getting insurance for our club, the Atlanta Blaster Club.
Nice.
Along with that, the question I had is World Foam Alliance sounds like it's really scratching an itch that the hobby teams have kind of needed worldwide. I've seen a couple of other projects out there that are trying to do something similar. In particular, I feel like dartsweep.io has kind of filled that gap a little bit. What are your thoughts on collaborating with them, and what does the future look like? Would it be kind of competing platforms, or would there be kind of a unification of sorts?
There is absolutely no desire for it to be competitive. Brandon Diaz, who runs dartsweep.io, comes to my private events. He's local to me. I talked to him about it because I was actually tragically unaware of dartsweep.io, which is embarrassing given that he comes to my events. But that kind of really shows how lousy we are at advertising if major people in our hobby don't even know about these tools. One of the goals of the World Foam Alliance is, in fact, to make things like that more publicly aware, to make people aware that this tool exists, because dartsweep.io is doing a lot of things that were also originally thoughts and ideas we had for the World Foam Alliance, but they're more in the hobby focused. It's more for people who are already in the hobby that are trying to connect and do things, whereas the World Foam Alliance is trying to bring people in from the outside. dartsweep.io does not have the marketing potential that the World Foam Alliance has due to various reasons, and Brandon has said he's not interested in trying to do that. That's not what the focus of his platform was. But it is definitely our intention to point people towards dartsweep.io because it has so many tools already ready, already tested and tried. They also have things like forums and news feeds that we're not planning to try to do like much in the way of chat. We've got the Discord, but that's more for being able to do things like this than for trying to replace any other forums and whatnot. So yeah, no, our goal is not to step on their toes. The goal is definitely to collaborate. We may pass stuff off to them. They may end up passing stuff off to us if it turns out the World Foam Alliance is able to do things better, so that we're not duplicating work and wasting each other's time and stuff like that. So yeah, that is definitely something we want to work with. And the same with like clubs that already have their Facebook groups. We don't want to try to out Facebook because that's a losing proposition. It's
that's fair enough.
Here's their Facebook group, and have a way for them to find it. And if the best way to do that is to go to dartsleep.io, they've got a map for it, find the one that's closest to you, then that would be the easiest way to do it and save a lot of people a lot of time. So yeah.
Just to play off of that, for example, like another example I use again is the Maryland Foam Alliance, which is the three major Maryland groups that formed together and created their own alliance as well. So the WFA isn't here to come in and replace that. We're not going to say, no, that's no good. You're using our system. Our system, the system is there for, it can just simply be a redirect. So in essence, we're not going to come in and say, now Maryland Foam Alliance has got to use our stuff. It's more so just a link in the direction. Go to them. In fact, they have it all set up anyways. So we're just a connector. But then on the same token, if let's say, for example, we have groups in, I don't know, pick Southern Ontario, let's say, Canada, and they don't have a system or don't already have something combined, the World Foam Alliance can provide that framework and the tools so you can create your own network. So again, we're not here to replace or obliterate anyone. We are kind of that intermediate cog or glue that brings everything together so that when you need to know something, you come here and therefore you can then find the tracks or branches to exactly what you need or what you're looking for.
An enabler of sorts. Yeah, that's awesome. I've got one more follow up that's a little bit more fun, and that would be I enjoy LARPing and I enjoy HVZ. I'm curious why I haven't seen very many HVH kind of events in my area. Have you ever had a humans versus humans oriented experience? And if so, what was it like?
So Ragnarok Oktoberfest is HVHVHVZ. It's three human teams battling it out during an apocalypse. And it is absolutely amazing. At Fort Borst, when we do humans versus zombie games, we do, a 15-minute HVZ. But we've started doing more HVHVZ because it's more exciting, where you've got two teams fighting for playing capture the flag or whatever. It just happens to also be during a zombie apocalypse, which adds a whole different twist on it. And it's also really, really fun. They're a lot more difficult to manage and organize. That's why most HVZs stick to just HVZ, because you throw in the HVH and it gets a whole lot more complicated and you need more moderators and more organization and more prep. But they are awesome when they are done well. So,
yeah, so maybe we'll put that in the things the WFA's got to do.
Time's up. Get off my lawn. Great. Fantastic question. We're getting lucky today.
We are, and you know what, though? We'll put a pin in that. Maybe that will be. So also, the World Foam Alliance hopes and plans with, as it grows, with sponsorships and everything else, to throw events. So, yeah, you know what? We might even talk about an HVH just to be different.
Yeah. Nerf wars are usually, HVH.
Yep.
Zombies are usually HVZ. Having the combination is really, really fun. The Mutation Mall Madness is technically HVHVHVHVHVHVHVHVHVHVZ. Technically, all of the human squads can fight each other if they want to. It's just a real good way to get yourself eaten by zombies.
Absolutely.
But yeah, doing a major HVZ in a stadium where there are two teams that are fighting over resources that are spread out while the apocalypse is happening, that would be amazing. And that level of game is what the WFA is eventually looking towards. Big sponsored events, whether it be HVZs or competitive tournaments or just massive Nerf wars, similar to Jared's Epic Nerf Battle type thing, but a little bit more structured hobby-wise, because Jared's Epic Nerf Battle is amazing, but it is 100% chaos. There is no structure pretty much whatsoever. And that's largely because almost everyone who goes to it aren't familiar with our style of Nerf wars. Jared's Epic Nerf Battle is the only thing they go to. Whereas if we held an event that was by people who have gone to Nerf wars and know how Nerf wars work and know the etiquette and know the mechanics, then you could do an event on that scale and still have it work. trying to get people who are not familiar with it, trying to get 5,000 people who've never been a Nerf war to function normally, when half of them are kids, it's going to be chaos. But that's the beauty of Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, is it is just the most magnificent foam flinging chaos you can possibly imagine.
Well, I think that's the trick with the event, right? Know who your audience is going to be and cater to them, and you'll be good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they builded it that it was going to be a proper Nerf war and then it was chaos, you'd be upset. But when you go knowing that it's just going to be, blowing a whistle and 5,000 people shooting at each other for 5 minutes and then rest, pick up the darts, do it again, with vague little themes in between, it's a thing. So yeah,
it is. All right, just to give people a little update, if you tuned in late or have been here the whole time, again, be sure to go to the worldfoamalliance.org website. Register if you haven't. Also, there you'll find the links to the Discord. In the Discord, you can jump in the Discord, and that's how you actually get on and make a phone call to talk to us. Either we're going to ask you a question, but right now I think we're doing well with just having people ask us their questions. Also, I just want to give a heads up, if you're hanging out and wondering, a little bit later on in the show, I feel like we're professional now, we will have actually KT from Provisional Nerf News Network. I think I got that right. Yeah. The PNN and anyways, your go-to for the everything that's happening within the foam flinging universe. So we'll have him on a little bit later. But now, in the meantime, how about we have our next caller? Get on my line. You got 5 minutes. What do you got? This is the dramatic pause until we get someone on.
Yeah. Anybody? Is there someone there? We're trying to field questions from chat, but we've got chat in Discord, chat on YouTube. We'll see what comes up. Somebody, Archer asked a question. Where'd Archer's question go? I know that person.
Perfect. What did she ask?
Where'd it go? Where would you have your...
Wait a minute. We got her on here. Never mind. Let's make it easier.
Much easier. What do you want? What are you doing on my lawn? Is your mic on?
Unmute yourself.
Make it work! I'm so looking forward to hearing their voice.
I know.
Now, I'm just going to have to console myself with cheese. You see what you've driven me to?
Right. How cheesy. We got someone else. Who are you? Where are you from?
I would love to hear. All right. What are you doing on my lawn, Chesky? What madness have you in store?
Oh, you don't know. You have no idea.
I have no idea. No, I don't.
That's what we asked.
Actually, you should fix that at some point, but that's not what I'm here for. Xavier, you get sent a lot of stuff over the years. Where does it go? Do you have infinite space?
It's starting to become an issue.
Uh-huh.
I've got the barn, which has an attic. I've got a 20 by 10 foot shipping container, and I've got a probably a 12 by 12. No, it's got to be bigger than that. 20 by 20 barn that I converted into storage. Some of it I give away to, when people show up, they're like, "Oh, I've always wanted this blaster. I got a bin of them. Here, take 2."
Yes, just take it, please.
Well, what does it cost? It costs you getting it out of my shop.
Yes, it costs you time and lifting space.
Yes.
But also, I'm pretty sure some of my stuff is still in that pile somewhere.
Oh yeah. I think I did. I ever get around to reviewing the Belt-Fed magazine Mark II?
I don't think you did, which actually, in hindsight, is probably for the better.
That's a cool concept, though.
It is, and I'm still working on the Mark IV version, but it is resisting me.
Mm. Now, you designed the massive shell ejecting thing,
yes,
right?
The motor here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to see one of those in action at the foundry in England, and it was just insane watching Spectre just hose around a corner and shells flowing everywhere, and people behind the wall going, I'm hit, please stop. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing.
It's pretty fun.
Pause for a second. Cap, just because people should know, in case they don't know, give a quick 15-second introduction as to exactly who Domashevsky is.
So,
give the man credit.
Let him talk. Where are you from? What are you doing?
Well, I reside in Germany. I have one day decided that I will now make something blaster related because I picked up a hammer shot in a local toy shop.
Good. That's a good place to start.
You know,
What part of Germany? Because I'm going to be in Germany in a month.
the one that is furthest away from where we are going, as is normal.
Proud per spec. Yeah, I'm going to be in Frankfurt.
Yeah, well, actually, that is okay. Like, I am in Stralsund, which is the northeasternmost coast on the bridge to Rügen. So that's a couple hours by train, which that's doable. And yeah, actually, I could probably show you around my workshop, show you the Gatling I'm working on.
Ooh.
It's a mega blaster.
Did you say a mega Gatling gun?
Yes, that is exactly what I said.
I'm sorry, we can't have that kind of language on this channel.
I know.
Pure porn is what that is.
That's kind of why I'm creeping closer to the mic in this sultry voice sort of thing.
Oh, I'm loving this show.
Yes. Have you actually seen my Mega XL blaster?
1 second. Anyone that's new to this, just because, again,
sorry,
World Foam Alliance, I just want to say, when people ask me and they say, well, I can never do what you do, or I can never make what you make or paint what you make, the captain gets it all the time. Tomaszewski, it's not like the way you started, it just makes total sense. He started with a hammer shot, and look where he's gotten now. Never sell yourself short. Don't be afraid to try, and this is why we have people making some amazing things in this hobby. Don't think you can't do it. You can do it. It just might take some time.
Yes. I had the advantage that the job I worked at the place had 3D printers. And they said, if you want to go. And so I did. And they said, hold up, not like that.
Are you surprised how many resources are available? Because I built my own makerspace because I wanted one, but there are makerspaces out there, and some libraries now have 3D printers, and a lot of schools have 3D printers, and they'll let you use, or so that's another one of the things we're hoping to do through the WFA is help people get to the resources they need. So
hold on, before we run out of time, because we got a timer, so give us a few more minutes there, moderator. Keep going.
Okay, fair.
Also,
the printers are very cheap these days. Sorry, I was talking over you.
Sorry, you mentioned the Mega XL blaster. I'm not familiar with your Mega XL blaster. What is this? This sounds fabulous.
It is also shell ejecting. It is magazine fed.
Good. That's like I want one.
I mean, there are options. We can talk later.
All right, let's do that.
Also, if you so choose, it can shoot a quad of elite darts through flywheels.
All right.
Because I'm good at what I do.
We're going to have Tomaszewski back often. Before you get off our lawn, quick, where do you sell your stuff?
Oh, no, they've given you an extra minute. Yeah, so where can we get a hold of you or contact you? Do you have a shop? Do you have links? Do you have what?
Tell us.
I do have a shop. I do have links. I have wildwestsci-fi.net. That is my website. I'm also available on Etsy at Genko Megaworks. And I'm going to write that down in the chat later because you have no idea how that's going to be
That's in the description of the video.
Tomaszewski, thanks for calling in, buddy. We're going to have you back for other things.
Definitely.
He got off our lawn, but I have a feeling we'll have him back. And
God, I love that
man. We might have to have him on one of our other shows, and maybe we'll take advantage right now to plug one of the other shows. So one of the other shows that you're going to be finding on YouTube is going to be hosted by Andrew Dart Sweep. And what Dart Sweep is going to do is he is going to be actually having almost like a late night talk show where he'll be talking to certain people in the community or otherwise. In fact, you know what? Maybe we should get someone named Andrew on here, and he can answer a few questions about that.
He's right there. I can see him. He's in there.
That's what I'm saying. Get on my lawn. Where's Andrew? Again, pause for suspense.
Apparently not.
Dude, a mega Gatling gun magazine fed.
A mega Gatling gun and a magazine fed Mega XL that can also shotgun elites. What do you mean you're just here for moral support? Explain yourself.
Seriously.
So anyway, the opposite Wednesdays of when this show is. So we're doing this every other Wednesday. On the other every other Wednesday, Dart Sleep will be doing a late night show type thing where it's more focused on a single person with a long interview and guests and people from in the hobby and out of the hobby, and it's going to be fun as well. Longer format than what we're doing. We're doing the short call-ins. He's doing the full interviews because he has the charisma for that.
And he knows how to keep an eye on the clock and moderate appropriately.
Yeah. Who are you? What are you doing on my lawn?
Doing a couple things on your lawn.
Rude. What do you want?
Hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to get my camera on, but I guess I can't. Okay.
It's all audio. What is your name and where are you from?
That's not a problem. My name is Zelkos. I also go by Jason. I'm actually the captain of Team Smog, which is no longer there, one of the Nebula members, and the co-founder of TNT Events, which just held BPOC.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, people like you are why this hobby actually happens.
Oh, I'm sorry?
People like you are why this hobby happens. Making things.
So I guess I have a couple questions. I'm kind of more obviously I'm kind of more into the competitive portion. I've actually been, I was living out in LA, started with the LA Foam Fighters, which, the Southern California people totally have it going down right there. Then moved to New Jersey out in Uno. And I guess my question is, when for someone like me with TNT Events, if we were to join, what kind of support we get from, what are we looking at, like for marketing wise, things like that, trying to get the idea, or what tournaments would we be joining? I'm trying to get a better idea of what the idea is for existing club owners, or so that way we know what we're getting into if we decide to join the World Foam Alliance.
Now they're asking the difficult questions, and I'm not sure I have it. Derek, you
want to take a run at it?
What?
Go ahead, take a run at it.
I'll take a run at it. So there's definitely going to be as much support as we can manage, especially things like running events and getting insurance and getting advertising for events and helping with resources for events. But the advertising is a huge part of what we're trying to help with. That's why we got so many influencers involved. And they're also pulling in influencers from outside of our hobby that have much farther reach than we do, but they just happen to turn out, I like Nerf. I didn't know this was a thing, which is the goal, because the more people we can get into the hobby, the more fun we can have. You're definitely still going to be able to do your own events. They're also going to be able to
that wasn't even a factor. I talked to Andrew a lot, and we kind of got it. I hear a lot of ideas, and that was kind of I guess I'm more of a detail-oriented guy, and I wanted to find out, what kind of what kind of support that someone who already has an event that would be getting, because obviously, we get tons of support from the Maryland Phone guys, and we love them, and absolutely, hey, Andrew's here now. He's here for more than moral support.
Andrew's here to answer this question better than Cap and I can.
Am I here?
Apparently.
You're on, Andrew.
Buddy. He disappeared.
He was. Basically, also, so you got to remember, with the World Foam Alliance, when people register, because the idea here is because this is definitely looking at it as a sport. Now, as a result of that, we're also hoping to keep stats on individuals. Now, the actual metrics in terms of how that will be determined is still being hashed out. But the idea being is that you can almost go on the website and look up different people and players, where they're located, in terms of their effectiveness or how well they play. And again, those metrics are still being hashed out. So I can't give you specifics in terms of how your rating will come about. By actually being able to register and keep track of people and their stats and players, it will hopefully facilitate the ability to therefore create more teams, or more people realize, hey, I have enough people here when I can create a team. So through the World Foam Alliance, by people being able to be in contact with one another, it's easier to form a team. You know what I mean? And for sure. There will also be through the toolkit that's being launched, are there specifics for teams? I'm pretty sure there are. I'm just trying to remember everything on it. But again, the idea being is that it will be a connector place to actually. Here's another perspective of looking at it. When you go to it and you're trying to set up like a tournament or teams, right? The World Foam Alliance, hopefully you'll have enough teams registered where through the Foam Alliance you can actually then reach out to various teams that may not realize that there's a tournament over in this state or this time of year or everywhere else. By having a centralized calendar and the availability of different teams in different places, it also gives you then as a tournament organizer or as a team member or a team to look for other teams to therefore set up events. So again, it's that open communication of being able to find everybody.
So to piggyback off of that, is the World Foam Alliance planning on doing a organized tournament with those said stats?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So then also
in tournaments, some of the stats are going to be objective things like how many events have you been to, as compared to how many tags did you get, how many times were you the one who ran the ball, how many times did your team win. But those will also be the kind of stats they'll try.
Yeah.
But most of it, the big thing that you'll have is again the resources, the connectivity, the advertising, and the connected experience of man down, his time was up.
It was.
Yeah. So again, we're getting nothing but great questions. I'm absolutely amazed. This one was one we just didn't quite. I'm not sure necessarily. I don't know the answer. I'm not in charge of this. I'm just the talking head.
Andrew, I think Andrew would answer it better, but I think he had connection issues. But the thing is, more information for this will be provided, especially on release dates in terms of as different aspects of the website come online. But yeah, there will be. Right now, like Derek and Andrew could probably specifically tell you what the toolkits are. Right now, I'm trying to remember everything that we've talked about, and there is so much that we have talked about, and it's just hard to remember all of it. Andrew, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. You want to give a quick synopsis on what Zelkos was asking about the World Foam Alliance in terms of tournaments and teams?
I think there's a couple different elements involved with it. I think the ultimate goal at some point eventually down the road is to have the World Foam Alliance host their own events regionally, nationally, and hopefully internationally at some point. But also at the same time collaborating possibly with some existing events. For example, possibly, this is just theoretically, but in the future, collaborating with the Maryland Mayhem event, since that offers a wide gamut of events to attend, including a con, the competitive, the HVZ, and then just a regular blaster battle. So those are opportunities that the World Foam Alliance could track stats and players and get some metrics on, and then really try to grow this hobby from the inside and out.
Perfect. Also then, Andrew, tell us, man, you got a show on here or something? What are you doing, dude?
I guess so. I don't know whose decision that was, but apparently I will be hosting a talk show on every other Wednesday opposite of your guys' show, Get Off My Lawn. And I will be interviewing various personalities within the hobby community space. My first guest next Wednesday will be none other than Boomstick Mods, which I think is appropriate since he runs the Maryland Nerf Herder group, along with the Maryland Foam Alliance. And that was actually my first Nerf blaster battle that I've ever attended, so I feel like that was an appropriate choice to be the first guest. So, yeah, we'll be talking everything from if you run a club, talk about your club, talk about blasters, what's new in the community, any events that you may be having, just whatever we can think of to discuss is going to be the topic of discussion for the show. So I'm really looking forward to, and I'm excited about having guests up here. would love to get all the people that are actually in this chat right now. I feel like I know a lot of you, maybe not personally, but we've conversed online in some form or fashion. So I think it'd be a great opportunity just to share and share our passion for foam flinging.
I love it, man. That's going to be something else. So again, you're going to find Andrew. What's your show called again? Remind the old guy with brain tumor.
So I believe it is called Foam Zone with Dart Sweep. And again, that's going to be every other Wednesday, starting from 8, going all the way to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in being a guest, please reach out to myself or email the World Foam Alliance, and we'll be more than happy to coordinate an interview with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, a great opportunity just to share the love and passion for the hobby, and kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier. We really just want to try to get people that may not know that we exist and get them interested in our hobby and grow this community. We have a really great community, and that's why I love being a part of it.
Awesome. I look forward to being on the show at some point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Catherine will want to be on it.
Yeah. All right, let's have another person in here.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. You guys are doing great.
Get off my lawn.
All right, let's get Archer in here again. See if we can get it to work this time.
Yes, let's get Archer in here. And as soon as Archer gets on here, I have a question I'm dying to ask.
You've got a question for Archer?
I do, as soon as she jumps on.
Any minute now, I'm sure. There's a button.
Well, this is the necessary dramatic pause. It builds suspense and interest. While we're waiting, if you haven't registered, worldfoamalliance.org, go register.
Yeah, go register at World Foam Alliance. I mean, obviously, if you're in here, you know about the Discord. Well, actually, no. This is live on YouTube. Go to worldfoamalliance.org and register. It also has the link to the YouTube.
Wait, I have a question for you, Captain.
Oh, no. Questions.
I know. My question is, I heard that if you do register, that by a certain date, that someone at the World Foam Alliance might actually send you something.
Oh, yeah. There's loot to be had. But you have to register at some point. I poked the thing. I don't actually know if I have the ability to. Nope, that's someone else.
That's someone else. Who are you? Where are you from?
Isaac, what are you doing on my lawn? You're going to be on my lawn in a couple of days.
Hello.
Are you coming?
I am going to be here, yep.
Great.
What's your name?
Yeah, I'm Isaac. I'm from, What?
What do you want?
I was just wondering, when you go about, I guess, damn, I had a question and forgot it. I guess I'll go for Al this time.
Sure, buddy.
Since I haven't met you in person. When you decide a color for one of the various blasters that you design, what is your process of thought for that?
So a lot of it there for a while there was a time where I was really going through phases, and part of it in the whole experimentation process in terms of picking colors was especially when I found a good paint. And so, for example, the stuff I always use for the main color on my blasters is a product called Plutonium. You can buy it online. This stuff is amazing. It like all my white blasters, to give you an idea, if you ever painted a white blaster, I first base everything out in a black vinyl dye, and that's just 2 coats of white, and it covers perfectly. So that's just how amazing this stuff is. So sometimes when I find a color that's really vibrant and rich, I will do a ton of them that are white all of a sudden. Or if I discover a new color, for a while I did a lot of orange. The orange ones, are especially I guess for me, it's like it depends on the mood. Like for a while, I did a lot of orange ones just because of safety factor. And I remember someone was criticizing me, I think, of not being safe. So instead of orange tipping it, I just orange the whole thing. And I guess it just depends on what you find. So sometimes people ask me, hey, can you do this blaster in a certain color? So I really don't have a specific formula as to why I do it. It's kind of like whatever color I feel like, or if I feel I haven't done a color in a while, or especially if I'm doing an event and then realize because of the audience or people that are going to be there, it might be more fitting if I did this color. I hope that makes any sense and I didn't ramble too much.
I could not agree more.
That makes sense.
Archer!
Archer stuck in.
Archer has arrived.
Hello, my fellow nerds. That was a lot.
What is your favorite color?
Red.
Thank
Why?
you. Now carry on.
Because Vi from Arcane is my girl.
I figured it was because the blood wouldn't show.
That is also correct. How's it going, friends?
It's
Good.
good.
By the way, Isaac, thanks for that question. Clearly, get off my lawn, but come back anytime, buddy. Anyways, we're good, Archer. How are you?
See you Saturday, Isaac.
What was that?
Isaac will be coming to my event on Saturday, so I'll see him Saturday.
Ah, very nice, very nice. Hopefully, I wasn't interrupting, but no, I'm doing good. It was a little crazy for a few months, but now I'm back at it. I've been able to go to more events. I've been starting to come back to TNT events specifically because work I wasn't able to before, and now I'm just feeling really good to get back into the swing of things with both eyes open.
Excellent. How's that new iPro working out for you? Is it still holding steady?
Amazing. No,
Yeah.
I have. It's funny because I have your eye protection, and then my girlfriend, right when I turned 30, one of the gifts that she gave me, the very last gift, was a giant pair of red goggles, and said, "Cool, you're gonna wear this forever now." And I said, "That's my girl."
That's correct. Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so I got a couple questions for you guys. So I have on here plans to travel HVH events specifically. I was curious, you're trying to get more World Form Alliance events happening. Are you trying to run an HVH event for the Northwest US, or what are your plans for expansion going forward?
As far as I know, there are no actual specific location plans yet. They're still gearing up that part of the whole thing. But the goal is to hold events. We definitely want to hold events where other events aren't currently being held. Because if everyone's holding the events in the Northeast, what about the people in the Northwest? What about the people in the Southeast? So it is definitely want to spread them out. When they go to do like the PvP tournaments, they want to hold qualifiers. Their goal was 8 qualifiers around the country. So 8 different regions that would have local qualifiers for them. And I assume HVHVZ's similar, or yeah. What was the original question? Were you talking about HVHVZs or PvP?
All events in general, I think.
HVH, PvP, yes.
Okay, yeah. So they're wanting to hold them. The qualifiers would be held in 8 different regions around the U.S., ideally, so that no matter where you are, you're relatively close to one. Where the final gets held, that would probably be something that would move around from year to year, so it's not always held in the same location, so that everyone gets their turn having the event near them.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that obviously would be for. Go ahead, sorry.
No. It will also depend on availability, but also one of the goals of the World Foam Alliance is in the next year or so, we hope to bring on many sponsors. And again, I've said in the past, we will never be, example, Nerf's World Foam Alliance or Dart Zone's World Foam Alliance. We will be World Foam Alliance, even if it does cost us dollars. The idea being is that we won't be the puppet of a major corporation where they tell us what we got to do. So the idea being then with enough sponsor dollars is to actually hold large events, which would therefore, with sponsorship, then be able to offset the cost of these events. So sometimes that may dictate where we end up, depending on how big the event we can make it and what are the available facilities or make sense for what that event is. In the beginning, there will probably be various ones that we try to do, and then ultimately realize where our place is in terms of what is expected of us and what would be a cool event, which will then become a little more normalized. But at the same time, we want to make it so people around the country or around the world eventually, that'd be awesome, where we can have events and people show up to it and not just make it every year. Everyone's coming to, well, you know what, screw it. I live in West Virginia, so everyone's coming here so I don't have to travel. That'd be kind of mean and horrible. I think I'd be the only one that'd be happy with that. So.
Now, would this be something that you would do like within the next year, or is it just a matter of you're still working through the kinks and it's going to do some trial by fire?
That
So
might be.
So the full functionality of the site should be up and running loosely, I think, by the first month of next year. So once we're up and running full, then it's also it's easier to get more people to register. It's easier then to get more sponsorships when you can actually tell people, hey, look, we have this many people. We need you and want you to throw money at us because we're doing a great thing. So it is going to be a process. If it goes well, we'll probably do some kind of event next year. But right now, it is too early to tell. Like if it's on desire alone, yeah, man, let's do something next spring. But it is a process, and I don't want to promise something that we're not going to deliver on.
Yeah.
I lost her. Go ahead, Cap, if you got any more to add to that.
Boots McGee. No, that was what I was going to say. All right, Boots.
Hello. How are you doing?
Doing great. The show's going fabulous.
Fantastic. I'm Boots McGee. I'm from Michigan. I actually have a blaster question, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you got?
All right. Well, Hasbro kind of like surprised us with the Strife X. And I'm super excited about the battery and the magazines and the darts. The blaster itself is awesome, absolutely awesome. I know that it's not really for me because I already have my own modified Strife and everything else. But how do we make Hasbro understand that we're still excited about this? And how
do you make sure that you did a really good thing? I'm not going to buy it, but you did a really good thing and keep doing it. That's
absolutely.
Social media, tell people who ask what blast, get other people to buy it.
Well, yeah, that was my thought. Is I'm trying to get as many people that are interested in getting into the hobby just to grab that. Just start with that, get it going. But I'm just thinking it would be lovely if they could like release the battery because I know I'd find a way to use it.
That was one of the things that I thought was the concept behind that battery is. I want to know how much that battery costs. That might be the reason they're not, is they don't want to reveal the fact that the battery is, $80. Because it is a LiPo and a LiPo charger. I mean, the board on that thing is ridiculously complicated. It's advanced technology and it's amazing. It's one of the things that I really, really like about it is that, you can literally buy the thing, take it out of the box, 30 seconds before you go onto the field, load your magazine, slap the battery in, and go. That's genius as far as marketing and as far as being able to draw people in because they don't have to have everything. They don't have to figure out how LiPos work. They don't have to, mod their Strife. You can just buy that and use it at a pro level event. And that is amazing. I mean, I would buy one, they sent me one, but that's a really good question because we really do want Hasbro to continue down that line. We want them to know you did it right. What you did was brilliant in every respect. The price seems high, but again, we don't know what that battery costs. The wheels are apparently like glass-infused nylon or something. I'd really be interested to know what the actual material cost is on that thing because people keep complaining about the cost. They're like, well, we don't know the actual cost. I mean, if it's $20 to make it and they're charging us $120, that seems a bit cheeky, but I suspect there's more overhead in that blaster than a lot of people realize.
Well, I think that it's more of like its market value. $120 for a modified Strife from anyone on Etsy is pretty, actually that's a pretty good deal. So I don't see that. They may have just looked at that and just said, hey, we can charge this. But the other question I had...
go ahead.
The other question I had is that because it does shoot hotter, do you think that we'll start to see clubs increase their DPS value?
They might. This is something that somebody has got on my in the comments on my YouTube channel and was arguing that same thing. I would argue against doing that for the same reason that I argued against it when the Dart Zone Pro came out and everyone was saying that HVZs need to increase their FPS now. We chose the FPS we did for good reasons. It wasn't arbitrary. HVZs choose a lower number because you're being shot at point blank range over and over and over and over. And anything above 120 gets really unpleasant real quick. How much of a difference is 120 than 130? How much safer is 150 than 160? But a lot of it is not necessarily safety. It comes down to comfort. Because for public wars, where you've got a lot of little kids, getting shot in the face at 150 FPS at point blank range when you're 11 can really ruin your day. And if we increase it to 160 because of one blaster, well, what happens when the next blaster hits 170? What happens when the next blaster hits 180? At what point are our public wars 200 FPS wars and are no longer family friendly? There has to be a point where we go, no, this is where we're drawing the line and we're staying here. And changing that because of one blaster kind of feels like changing the speed limit around a school zone because Ford came out with a really fast car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people might, because again, we really want people to get this blaster because we want this blaster to succeed. The thing is, out of the box with brand new, fresh IQ Strike half darts, it hits around 160. With every other dart that I've put through it, it's 150 or less. So I don't think it's as big of an issue as people think. Because a lot of people aren't going to want to use the AccuFakes, even though they're really good darts, because they don't work well in springers. Which is apparently why Hasbro's not planning to release any springers, would be my guess, is they don't want to come out with another dart. But I would oppose raising the FPS cap just because of one blaster. Again, because we picked that FPS for a reason. But yeah,
I think what you're talking about makes total sense. I think what you're going to see is not like an overall cap for the event, but what it might be, like for example, Maryland, when they do the events, usually later events, you might see like where the last one or the last two events will suddenly have a higher cap just because they realize that everyone owns this. They want to give them opportunity. But I think it's just, so it's not so much, you'll just see, I think, variations in different games to accommodate that. So I think that's what you're going to see, but not like a general, like you're saying, flat rate where now it's going to jump up depending on what's available.
For Borst, our public wars, during lunch, we hold a 250 cap round.
Yeah.
For people that have the high-powered blasters and want to bring them, we do one round that's 150, but it's a lot more structured. We run it like a PvP tournament, essentially. So there's a lot fewer players. It's a lot easier to manage. We're not worried about somebody popping a jogger with a 250 FPS blaster on accident because it's a smaller section of the field and it's a lot more controlled and contained. But it allows us to do the high cap in a public place. That's the risk of doing high cap in a public place, is if you hit a non-player and it's high enough to seriously hurt them or just really annoy them and they go to the city and complain, now you can't do Nerf in your public park anymore. Because you shot a jogging Karen with your caliber. That's one of the concerns that we have. And so it's one of the reasons we tend to cap at 150 is that's less of a risk. It's still a risk, but yeah, that's...
It makes sense. I love that you guys do that at lunchtime, because then it also is kind of like on display if you have new players or people that don't understand the high cap things. So that way they get to see it personally, like, wow, that's something cool. I want to be part of that. Or on the same token, look and go, that is cool. I'm just happy to be a spectator. But before we go on further, we're getting about that time where we can keep talking while you find it, but I think it's time that we should bring on our special guest for today. Let's call it that. Hey, how about KT?
All of the PNN guys are here. Who is our PNN?
So for anyone watching, basically what we're going to have is we're going to have KT from PNNN come on, and we're going to talk to him a little bit too. For many of you probably know exactly what he does. For those of you that do not, it is they're also bi-weekly. Go figure, everyone does this bi-weekly thing, where they cover a lot of the news that's going on in the hobby, which is great for your, if you're heavy into the hobby, you understand all of it. But even if you're new to this and you want to find out about things and the different jargon different blasters or things we talk about, it is a great format that they have done, and I do believe there's 4 of them. So then if we can find KT and bring him on, he can tell us a little about what he does and answer any questions. Or at the same time, he might be asking us questions about the World Foam Alliance. I feel like we should have Jeopardy music at this point.
Really, who he is he even in this chat? Oh, there he is. I assume it's. Aha.
Hey there,
aha.
I am not KT.
I was gonna say.
Yes,
Who are you?
no, that is not me. He was in here and then dropped. And anyway, one comment, 2 questions, and then I'll get out of the way because I see him back here. Regarding like lower FPS caps, yeah. So I just stepped down as a club officer for RIT HVZ, and I'm now helping us. We got a PvP club approved over the summer to start up in the fall, and the plan for that is to run most of our PvP games at 1:30, specifically to make the games more approachable to newcomers while leaving room for hobbyists to tinker, and then we'll run special events at higher caps. And yeah, we're hoping that with that same mindset of make it approachable, make it not a problem. So yeah, that really resonated with me. Anyway, the questions. First one, you mentioned tracking stats for competitive. Are there any plans to track stats for HVZ? And if so, how are you planning to keep from pulling competitive sentiment into this side of the hobby that's generally, casual isn't quite the right word, but it's the only one that my brain can think of right now. Like less serious, more shenanigans focused?
I imagine if they do any kind of stats for HVZ, it would be the purely objective ones. How many HVZs have you attended? Because that gives you a vague idea of experience, but that doesn't necessarily, like, maybe you always played as a zombie. Maybe you always made it to the last stand. Maybe you always died in mission 1. I don't think they're going to try to track those kinds of stats. And even if they did, it wouldn't be like a ranking system of, well, this is clearly the best HVZer ever. It'll be more of, this person has been to the most HVZs, or because a lot of that I suspect is going to be self-reporting, and unless there's a way to actually confirm whether you went to an event or not. But the goal of that is to create a competitive ranked system, so much as an achievement kind of system of, you've been to 10 HVZs, you've been to 20 HVZs, you've been to your first HVZ. And I imagine the competitive stuff will probably have more stats of how many rounds you've won, how many tournaments you've been to, how many tournaments you've won. Things like that, where you might actually be able to put together some sort of an objective ranking system. Whereas HVZ, like you said, is so many of the HVs are also different. It's hard to even measure your performance at one HVZ against your performance at another HVZ in a way that matters beyond you went. It'll be interesting to see if they do decide to try to get more complex in a rating system than that.
Also, on that same token, though, we are also taking into very serious consideration is to make sure that it keeps it fun, interesting, and competitive. But at the same time, if it somehow goes sideways or elicits behavior that we do not want, because again, this is a happy, fun hobby that we want to make sure everyone's included. But if somehow it is going to be used in negative fashion that way, we are very well prepared to pivot and make sure not to provide any kind of fodder for someone who has decided to do something horrible with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. We've been revamping our website for RIT's club. We use a website to track like tags and team affiliation during each week-long we run, and we've been dealing with a lot of that ourselves. So it's been coming to mind. The other question that I had, do you know if there are... So, sorry, context for why I'm asking this. this hobby has a lot of younger players who are like technically considered adults, but are not very adulty adults. Right. So like there's a lot of college students in this hobby who would love to come visit events of all sorts, but who sometimes struggle to make that happen. Do you know if there's any plans to connect people to help with figuring out travel stuff?
I don't know if
in the spirit of fostering this, let's come visit each other's events.
Yes, there will be. Specifically, like, and I got the name of the toolkit. And part of the toolkit, there are going to be ways of like people can post and get rides or things like that. But even one of the things in the toolkit, especially if you developed a group or join a different group, is where you can actually fundraise for various members. For example, if you realize in your club you have 6 people that want to go, but they really can't afford it or can't go, there are going to be options to fundraise or like put up other things. It's the specifics about it. Again, there's so many aspects of this. I can't remember the details of it, but yes, there actually will be like something you can use, especially if you have a group or otherwise in general, where it's you can find a ride. Hey, I'm located here. Who's going here? Just to catch a ride or otherwise. Again, it's the goal of the site for connectivity. But anyways, KT, I think we're on now. Who are you? Where are you from, buddy?
Technology makes our lives so much better, doesn't it? Every time.
I love technology. I look forward to our robot overlords.
It's also amusingly. Oh, someone has to give me permission if my camera's going to turn on. Just putting that out there. But hi, thanks for having me on. It's great to join the Beard crew today, although you can't tell yet. But yeah.
Actually, we want to have your camera on. Normally we don't, but it's up to the moderator. I got no problem with it.
Yeah, totally. If they would like to allow it, I'm almost set up for that. But yeah, thank you for bringing up PNNN. I feel like the World Foam Alliance and the Provisional Nerf News Network have a lot in common in terms of our goals of supporting the hobby and communicating information effectively and supporting different things that people are trying to do to grow the hobby. Our whole thing has been 4 friends with different approaches to the hobby who have come from different directions, sort of using our different strengths to try to report information up to date accurately to as much of the hobby as possible. And so far, so good. We're 15 episodes in. We're every 2 weeks, like you said. And a lot of big stuff has happened in the short time that we've been doing our show. So it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it feels worth it.
This kind of goes back to one of hopefully the benefits of the World Foam Alliance is I had no idea you were doing this, and I'm a person in the hobby because we are atrocious at advertising.
It is a real thing. It's a challenge.
A lot of it is how decentralized we are because I'm on like 50 different HVZ Discord or Nerd Discords or Facebook groups, and it's just an endless stream and it all just blurs together. Yeah. And so finding it is a problem. But then what you're doing is helping condense all of that into a simple, every 2 weeks I can watch this and catch up on everything.
Yeah.
So we definitely...
Our show is doing Nerf news things. Like one big story comes out and they just immediately put out a single video about it. Our whole thing is we wait the 2 weeks and we put the best information, the most accurate thing we can together. Because for a lot of people, that's the best way to consume it. And it also, we've realized over time that it sort of creates a record of the recent history of the hobby, where you can kind of go back and like see what's been going on in a way that's presented pretty clearly. I'm really proud of the work that we did with that. There was that little bit of a scare with the rule changes around the legal requirements for toys, how they're being classified, and that's still a little bit ongoing. But we put a special report together. We did it in like 3 days, and I feel like we had people from the airsoft community and the paintball community were reaching out to us being like, hey, like, thank you for putting this report out. It's honestly the clearest explanation of what's going on that we've seen. So it feels good to be able to be that for this hobby, especially after losing this weekend Nerf.
That's what I was going to ask. Are you the official successor to that, or did you just fill in the void?
I don't think there's ever such a thing as an official successor to something like that, and but a lot of people have been saying that we're the new one, and we did unofficially receive their blessing, which is nice. But I mean, we've grown really quickly, and so functionally speaking, I think we've achieved that, which is nice as well. We've had a couple chances to pay tribute to their show. Like when Foam Blast finally closed, we did a fun little snippet for them in the show, which was a lot of fun, and they've been great guides to us too. We've been able to go to them with questions about, we're not sure how to handle this. How have you handled stuff like this in the past? Or they've been wonderful.
What I love about when you guys came on is because the fact that you didn't realize how important that news was until it was no longer there, where it really was a void that you didn't realize when they stopped, where it's like, man, now wow, this is bad. So I love the fact that you guys picked up the ball, and I love the approach of it, because again, putting it all on one person, you know what I mean, is, if someone wants to do it, great, but it is definitely a challenge. Yeah, it is definitely a challenge. So I love how you guys have split it up among the four of you, and you're able to really capture many aspects of the hobby. And obviously, depending on the news cycle, some sections are going to have more stuff than others, but you guys always do a fantastic job of really covering all the bases, delivering the information with a lot of rambling, without any rambling, unlike Captain and I may ramble on forever. But anyways, the point is that you guys really stay on point and keep it interesting.
You should see all the stuff that winds up on the cutting room floor.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine. But it is, you can see it just how you guys do it in terms of the professionalism and the effort in there. So I applaud you all for that, and love the fact that it is there.
One of the things that's been really fun about it too, like you said, having a team to do it with, like all the stuff that I've done with Family Foam Sport, I'm really proud of the channel that I've built and like the very specific niche I'm trying to communicate with. But doing it all on my own is just like, I mean, you all know, right? It's just like you figure out all these shortcuts, but it's still just so much. You are the writer, you are the filmer, you're doing the research, you're doing the editing. And like we all do little bits of that, but we can pass things off to like most of the teams in the chat right now, if they're all still there. But like, if you know Joel King 627, he's like a master of janky mods. He's just a master of the hot glue gun, and so he has all this rooted knowledge in just like super in like a very specific type of modding. Vile and I are the old ones. We're about the same age as y'all. I'm speaking from my own lawn, from my lawn to yours. And he's worked in all kinds of different industry. He's done a lot of construction stuff and design stuff and metalworking. He was a welder for a long time. So he has a lot of mechanical and engineering background. Grim has been in the hobby for a long time and has a lot of history knowledge and a lot of depth into the history of community, and just like knows things about things that happened years ago that I had no idea about. And I'm the only parent. And so I have sort of an angle on the toy aspect and the kid aspect and the business aspect. And so we're able to sort of lean into our different strengths and balance the workload that way. And I think that has been extremely helpful.
I personally like the fact that it's every 2 weeks rather than, as you said, constant. And anytime any new news comes out, there's always the fight to be the first person to report on it, but that often results in a lot of speculation.
Yes.
That ends up being
huge. That weighs on our mind a lot. We are always trying to, one of the things we always have to do is sort speculation from known fact, and try to confirm everything. And the 2 week schedule gives us the time to do that. But at a certain point, we kind of have to like cross our fingers that people will come back to our video and get the more accurate, the more researched information. But it definitely helps. And it's something that like if people see misinformation about stuff, they can hopefully point people to our videos and know that the facts are there.
Yeah, excellent. That's definitely things that the WFA wants to do, is be able to point new people to the hobby to channels like yours and go, if you don't know what the newest news is, this is the channel to go watch.
Well, I'm really glad that the WFA is happening, as well as dartsweep.io, because like the Reddit admins were saying it when it seemed like we were going to lose our nerf, having it all there needs to be clear channels for communication, but there also shouldn't just be one. So to have y'all who are trying to do a wider set of outreach, I'm gesticulating like you can see me. I'm waving my arms around. That have a wider range of outreach, to have us doing the bi-weekly news, fortnightly news, whatever, and other people doing immediate news, and then dartsweep.io is talking more directly to the hobby. I think it's really, really great that we have this sort of diversity of tactics, right?
Yeah, the goal of the WFA is not to become the central hub for it all.
Yeah.
It's to connect the things that are currently completely disconnected.
Absolutely.
I didn't know about your channel. I didn't know about DartSleep.io. There's probably hundreds of things I don't know about that I would love to know about.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a place that could make it easier for people to connect them all, as opposed to trying to replace them. I mean, there's no way we could even. I mean, that would take. That would be a ridiculous undertaking to try to replace every Facebook group, every website, every YouTube channel, every Reddit thread. That's just would be stupid. It'd be so much duplication of effort.
I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
No, I mean that would be a whole business worth of full-time employees to even try to make that work, and it would be a nightmare. Rather, it's to connect the things, and yeah, that's the goal. And so that's why we're having, that's why we have you on the channel. That's why we had Dart Sweep. That's why we're doing more, having the Dart Sweep channel of doing it. So yeah. It'll be interesting to see when the tools on the web start getting rolled out, how that is able. Are they going to have here are all the Nerf tuber channels you should know about. Here are the resources that you should look into. Here are the guides that you should look into.
Yeah.
Here are the news sources. Here are the the best places to buy things,
I'm really excited for that to exist as sort of like a repository of information and an ability to access information that way. Because Reddit was kind of that way, but you had to search, and Reddit search wasn't great. And then there's 5 billion Discords, and I'm on all of them, but I can't find what I'm looking for half the time. So I think that's really fabulous.
So two things, one with the WFA, the fact that we're just going to be an information place and not necessarily the interaction. So we're really trying to eliminate things like gatekeeping. So that way, just by having kind of here you can find your information, but we're not going to provide venues or forums for people to sit there and suddenly cause a major headache for everything. But then also the other thing I wanted to ask you then, KT, is tell us about your podcast.
Oh yeah, of course. So one of the things, it's funny the way that the show started. It was originally Grimm's Nerfworks' idea to do the news show, and I had been talking for a while about trying to do a podcast with Vile and Jolt, and we eventually realized that those two projects made a lot of sense together because on the news show we tried to be very. I shouldn't say dry. We try to do a lot of humor. We try to keep it entertaining and fun to watch. It is a hobby news show after all. We're not doing hard journalism, but we wanted an opportunity as well to sort of riff off of the stories and give our opinions and have time to just sort of chat longer. And so the podcast comes out every time there's an episode, immediately afterwards. And currently it's only on YouTube, but we're in the process of making some changes that will allow us to monetize and to have a Patreon, which will allow us to pay to put the podcast on actual podcasting services. So we're looking forward to that coming up. And the podcast is a really great opportunity for us to sort of vibe and just have more fun with the news and talk about stuff. It also means that, when we're editing the story, there's certain stories that don't quite make it. Maybe it's just a tiny update on a previous story. We get a chance to explain all those stories too. We kind of put those at the beginning of the podcast. We play a game in the middle of the podcast where one member of the team reads the official description of a Nerf brand blaster with the name and the ammo type removed, and everybody else tries to guess the name of it. A little bit of a fun game that we toss in the middle of it. Jolt is currently way ahead in points on that game.
I hear you cheating.
and end with a little round robin what if question session. It's a lot of fun. We have guests on periodically. We've had Taffy of Caramel Designs, who designed the skewer, and we had him on right when the red herring was coming out. We had Maritime Foam on right about when the wrist-mounted, the Mega XL wrist-mounted thing. I'm blanking on the name. I have it right behind me, but I can't remember what it's called. And,
Mega XL launcher.
Thank you. And then we had not enough Nerf on a couple episodes ago. And I'm looking forward to having one of y'all on when the official WFA launch happens, which we've talked about. And we don't have a date set, but we are starting to schedule some out. We have some other exciting people that we're lining up for the podcast as guests in the future. So awesome. Doing the podcast is like a breath of fresh air after producing the show.
Me?
What?
Go ahead, give us your links. Tell us where we can find you.
Maybe someone in the team can just drop the links in the chat. I think we can at Provisional Nerf News Network. You can, but yeah, we're Provisional Nerf News Network. It's the actual username on YouTube is Nerf_news. So you can find it either of those ways. It should be very easy to find. And I see that Vile is in the chat. Vile, drop the link to the channel in the chat, please. That's probably the easiest way. Actually, I'm logged in as PNNN on there anyway, so I'll try to drop that in. And everything is there. You can find in the description of any video, you can find a link to our Discord, and you can find links to all of the contributors' channels.
Awesome.
What's this about Exagrams trying to summon a Strife X?
What?
Who is what? Wait, what?
In the chat said their comment was mention our Exagrams. We've been trying to summon a Nerf X or a Strife X.
Oh, I think Vile tried to drop the link, but it blocked it. I'm literally just going to say it's this channel because I am Provisional Nerf News Network on my phone. So you should be able to find through there and find us.
KT, thanks again for being on, man. Love everything you guys do, brother. And we look forward to talking and vibing and rambling and rambling and talking and stuff like that. Cap, you got any final words?
All of the above. Great. Thank you guys so much. It's been a lot of fun. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Get off my lawn. All right. Somebody had a question in the YouTube comments.
All right, let's see that. Brother Seeger, give us 1 second. What's the YouTube question?
What blaster would be better for a new player to use? A Caliburn, a stock takedown, a modded Matrix Fire, a stock Strife, or a modded Raven? A friend is trying HVZ, and I'm not sure what blaster to lend them. Well, obviously, the first concern is going to be, is the blaster legal for that event? Of those, for an HVZ, I would lean towards a modded Raven, actually. It's very compact, it's magazine fed, they're very reliable. That would be my go-to, probably followed by a stock Strife, honestly.
Perfect.
Yeah,
all right.
That would be my advice. All right, who are you? What are you doing on my lawn? What do you want?
Hello. My name's Thomas. I'm from the Dayton, Ohio area. I run the Brother Seeger YouTube channel. Al, I've met you in person before, but it's been a long time, probably since I think it was 2022 finals.
Most likely, dude. If I saw a picture, I'd remember who you are exactly. It all sounds familiar.
Yeah,
don't get old or have a brain tumor. You forget stuff.
Yeah, you just had to look at my profile photo. I don't know if you remember my face. I ran with Team Frumble for a little bit too. So that
absolutely, then I'll remember you.
Yeah, with a different team now. But so I just had kind of a couple questions here. We're on the topic of media and stuff like that. One thing I tend to notice in the hobby is I don't really notice a lot of like gameplay footage. I want to call it like POV footage, more or less.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. What's kind of your guys' what do you guys think of? Is it boring to watch for this sport in particular, or do you guys find it interesting?
I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I think we'll see a lot more of it as the PvP kicks in, because that is a lot more exciting. Because like the way Waffle does it up here in the Pacific Northwest, each round is only 90 seconds long. So that's a lot of very intense activity
Right.
in very short, easy to digest clips. And most of, I've only seen like 3 or 4 rounds go the full 90 seconds. Usually it's over in 30 seconds because it's 3v3 and it's either elimination or you dunk the ball. That's something you could actually do action footage of. You could put GoPros on everybody, set up a third-person camera, and be able to actually edit some really neat videos that are all, you know, fast-paced, high-cap stuff that would actually be really cool to watch. HVZ is typically a half an hour of walking around extremely bored, followed by 3 seconds of intense activity. And that's boring. When you finally get to like a big last stand and there's waves of zombies coming at you, that's interesting, but usually by then your GoPro battery's dead. Now, or you need a dedicated person who just is filming it, and then can edit hours and hours of footage into the 15 minutes of actual action that happened in a day-long HVZ. Public Nerf Wars, there's a lot more action, but it's also a lot more chaos. It's people running around blasting at each other. There's nothing to commentate on. There's nothing to say, oh, that was a really good move or that was a good push. Whereas I think the PvP is where we're going to actually see good gameplay footage that could actually be fun to watch and that people might actually enjoy watching. And if we actually get to the size where we have celebrity teams, where, the various big teams, Paradox and Frumble and Smog, and if these teams actually start getting, recognized and well known, and people actually want to watch the footage, then we as the hobby will make sure that they get that. If there are people that want to see it and are interested in seeing it, it's something that we'll make happen. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that does become a thing, that people watch competitive Nerf the way they watch, competitive video gaming or whatever.
Right.
I feel like people will want to watch Mega Double XL to watch us fat guys run around and see the things we tumble into. So,
yeah, I feel you on that. I'm a big guy myself. So, but yeah. A lot of my gameplay footage that I post to my channel tends to revolve around casual play. So you kind of already answered my question there, Captain, on the sense of it seems like the competitive is definitely the more interesting one to watch. So yeah, that's definitely, I definitely agree with that a lot, because you see, I like watching NXL paintball videos, and those are always so much fun to watch. Like it's never really any first person views, but it's the best example I can give is how Dart Zone for the 2022 finals, they tried to do their little live stream, except this one had like every last camera angle covered. It looked like NFL quality coverage, and it was so awesome to see that. And that's something I really wish we could do more of, or even strapping 5 GoPros to a whole team's head just to see what they do and how that looks from their view.
Yeah, and
if we get enough sponsorship money, we'll try to do that one day.
Yeah, exactly. That is something that we are building towards, is making this more like a sport, making it more interesting, more national, something that everyone is interested in, because there's 70 million Nerf blasters sold a year. There is a huge market of people that are into Nerf that just don't even know we exist. And so we're trying to do the marketing and gameplay footage, actually interesting, active. Wow, that was cool. Did you see him jump over that cover like that and dodge the dart and whatever? Or what on earth blaster even is that? They pull out something that fires 20 darts in a shotgun volley because they've got a 50 max or something. So yeah, I think it's something that's going to happen.
All right, who we got next?
What are you doing on my lawn? What do you want? Who are
First
you?
things first, microphone check. You read me 5 by 5?
Yep.
I am Fortnite dancing the orange justice on your lawn.
Well, get off my lawn.
No, come on, I just got here.
What do you want?
All right. So, I think you may have read the chat. I've been experiencing the storm right now. I do have a lot of questions, both silly and serious, but because of the wicked thunderstorm that I just had outside, I'm going to go with the serious one and to summarize it in one word: weather. So, it's been long since I played HVZ, but this summer I've been able to do 3 games. FSU, and war at UNCC and UF Gate HVC, and I've had quite a run. And if there is one thing that kind of ruined all those games for me, even though it was beyond everyone's control, it was the heat wave that everybody kept on experiencing, and I think I felt it at the most during End War. And I think that, and I feel like that's an issue that I think a lot of clubs just really try to consider. I'm from Florida, by the way, so we have quite the wicked weather down here. I mean, we got high humidity, but we also have like torrential thunderstorms. I think hurricane season is about to start anytime soon. Anyway, there's just no warning as of now, though. But climate change is still an issue. I think a lot of us need to consider, and what this means for setting up a lot of our games. And I have experienced some games where that got in a way to a point where some missions had to be delayed, or it just happened to be light rain and we can still go for it anyway. So my question is, how do we deal with the weather in an ever-changing environment?
Basically, a lot of things that are taken into consideration in terms of when events happen. For a good example, End War happened as late as it did in the worst kind of weather is just because of obviously everyone knows where it was supposed to be originally, and then when you pivot, try to find a new place, and at that late and at 6 weeks, it's kind of hard to find a venue. So I think also because of the 4th of July weekend which is why they were able to find it. But obviously, weather-wise, it's going to be a problem. Maryland Mayhem, for example, is in spring. So in Maryland at that time of year, it's usually around late upper 60s, low 70s. So the weather is beautiful. The problem is rain. I think that's always what's going to be the challenge with HVZs is the fact they're on college campuses. And when you're on college campuses, it's not like we can just walk in or anyone can walk in and say, hey, I want this weekend. You're always at the mercy of when it's available. And I think that's part of the problem. So one of the things, like, for example, we've been talking with Foam Alliance is to host an HVZ outside of a college campus where, one, we have more control of when we get to host it, and two, in consideration of the weather. So, like, one example, and I think Captain had talked about it, was like doing like a stadium. What are your thoughts on that, Taylor?
Yeah, so the biggest issue with any event, on any large event, is always going to be location. And that's true with our hobby. There aren't a lot of places large enough to host a major HVZ. Typically, they end up being college campuses, and they tend to be outside. Jared's Epic Nerf Battle is indoors, but it costs a lot of money to run Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, which is why the tickets are not exactly cheap and why so many of them need to be sold. If we wanted to be able to have an event indoors, indoor locations are either going to be too small for our needs, or if they're large enough for our needs, they are going to be really expensive. Now, that is something that, once again, looking forward, if we can get sponsors, or if we can, get enough interest that we can actually, if we can get 1,000 people to come to an event and we charge $20 a person, we've got $20,000. That's enough to actually potentially get locations. But that's, again, in the future to try to grow the hobby and to be able to do things either in winter or inclement weather or no matter what the weather is. But a lot of events just don't have that luxury. They only there's one weekend that their site is available, and it's dead center in the middle of summer, and it's going to be hot.
So what can we do to prepare?
Be prepared for hot weather. Ice pack vests, lots of water, and all the things that you do to prevent yourself from getting heat stroke. A lot of us wear plate carriers. They make ice vests for plate carriers. Ice plates that you can put in your plate carrier.
As an organizer, it might also not planning events in the middle of the day, where it's like started early, let's say 7, 8 in the morning, and then by 11 it is a 3 or 4 hour break, and you pick up again later in the afternoon, as opposed to running something in the middle of the heat.
That has been done as well. I have. There have been several events where, when it hit a certain temperature, they put the game on pause until it cooled down. That is also a very good option as well. So who are you? What do you want? What are you doing here? Where'd the other person go? I didn't even get the chance to tell them to get off my lawn.
All right, so I'm Siva Experiment. from Iowa, specifically Nerf DMI. We're a slowly but pretty alrightly growing Nerf group. Hello, Squish. I don't think you are in our Discord, but it'd be awesome to see you at one of our games. I'll try to talk to you a little bit and get you in. So basically, I might have a question later, but right now I kind of want to do a PSA of sorts because, well, I figured this will be the best time to do it. So, for context, 2020, 2019, I was a shitbird. Wait, sorry, language. How loose, how tight?
Great start. I thought your name was familiar. So
How loose, how tight on language, because I might drop the occasional minor swear.
Try not to, please, just because we're trying to use this also. So go ahead.
Okay then. So I was basically a large poop brick. I said stuff that was intentionally inflammatory. I worded stuff to be intentionally inflammatory. And at the time, I was just not a decent person online. I was still bad before that, but, that was towards the tail end of my donkey streak, or my donkey years, for lack of a better way to word it, to be accommodating to you guys. So I just want to put out a major apology for all of the ways I worded stuff and said stuff and intentionally inflamed people's nerves and stuff like that. I know part of that is how my temper was back then was a lot more loose cannon than it is now. Lego Boy in the chat, the Discord, pretty much a troll kind of. So my temper's gotten a lot in check. I mean, I'm still have the occasional flare where, I get really mad and, virulently, but those are a lot better in comparison. Like, far better. Anyways, I just want to say thank you for the Wolfram Alliance, PNN, and stuff like that for letting me in the first place to get my ground back up, I guess. It's allowed me to start working on a blaster of my own design called the Lance, based on the hot coin blaster. I'll post it in the Discord somewhere. I think I already have. But I just want to say thank you for letting me stay in and giving me another chance. I know some places aren't going to do that, like the Reddit Discord. But I don't need to be back in everywhere. I just need to be back in whoever's willing to let me give it a chance. Okay, so that's that now. Now I have crap. I lost the question. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay, I got a new one. So, the Midwest is pretty barren in terms of Nerf stuff. I mean, there's the occasional group or so in the Midwest proper. DMI. My group. Two others. But I was just thinking, what would be good ways to kind of get the Midwest to be a more beneficial place for Nerf, especially stuff like HVZ, as that's more centralized to the country and stuff like that? Would it just require, groups to be slowly built up over time and then eventually be big enough to reach out to campuses and stuff like that? Or would you guys say that the World Foam Alliance, once it has its proper feet off the ground, basically be that pool to allow for the Midwest Nerf scene, which even just anecdotally, I've seen plenty of people that have Nerf blasters and tinker with them a whole bunch, but don't necessarily know, about us and stuff like that. So I try to do recruiting, but do you guys feel like that the World Foam Alliance would be a major tool to get recruitment?
That is quite literally the exact purpose of the World Foam Alliance. Because as you said, there are people with Nerf blasters. Everybody almost has a Nerf blaster at this point. But they just don't know that there's 40 people in their town that would love to have an event once a month if somebody would organize it. And so we're here to help them get together and form that group. And there are going to be tools literally to help people start a club, because that's a huge hurdle. Somebody has to be in charge, and you have to know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, how do you learn how? I mean, I've made videos on how to start a Nerf club. Other people have made videos on how to find a Nerf club. But since we're so bad at advertising, nobody knows about it. It probably wouldn't occur to most people to go on YouTube and type in how to start a Nerf club, because why would anyone have made a video about that? But if we can get big enough to the point that Hasbro, Dart Zone, major, other major companies that have billion-dollar ads drop a mention about, check out the World Foam Alliance to find the club near you. I mean, that's just huge amounts of free advertising for them, because now people have a reason to buy more Nerf blasters, buy more Dart Zone blasters, because there's a place to actually go and play. Having one that you plink within your house is great. Once you're going to a Nerf event, you're gonna buy more. And so that's kind of what we're going to try to leverage, is going, look, we're giving people a reason to buy your product, but we need your help to do that. So yeah, the whole goal of the World Foam Alliance is to grow the hobby, because people are buying the blasters, they just don't know that there are events, or there aren't enough people organized in an area to start the club. I'm aware of numerous Nerf clubs that exist now because of some attempt to organize, and now we're doing it on eventually an international scale. So yeah, that's exactly the goal. Anyway, who are you? What are you doing on my lawn? What do you want?
Hey, I'm the one who sent you the Ice Phoenix. And speaking of small
amazing.
Nerf clubs, I run one in Ohio City. It's based in Cleveland. So yeah, if anyone's in that area, there's a Nerf club there. I was wondering, so you probably are wondering how the Ice Phoenix works, and I actually have a separate internal piece than that like operates entirely on its own. And I was wondering what your ideas would be about trying to make that like modular, because what I want to have is like it so it uses the same internals across all variations, or at least as close to the same as possible, but still have it be able to be used in pretty much any like type of Springer someone would want to use it in.
I think that is an absolutely
Kinda like
genius idea. It's the Springer equivalent of the Flycore.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, because the internals on that thing, one, they are so amazingly compact, because your barrel and your plunger
sent them in the chat.
same space, which is magic. And so you can make really small yet really powerful blasters.
Yeah, the barrel is.
You can make even more powerful blasters. And so, yes, I think the idea of a modular Springer cork would be genius, because then people can put whatever shell they want around it. They can make it a bullpup if they want. They can make it a pistol. They can make it a rifle. They can make it look like this blaster from this video game that they love. Because that was the whole concept behind the Flycore. That's why, there's now the Meowser exists and the Quick exists, and the Halo M6. All of those, the internals are identical. It's just the shell they've put around it. So doing that same thing, but for a Springer system that is really compact and self-contained, is genius and absolutely needs to be a thing.
That's an amazing thing. I look forward to what people will come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the whole thing, it revolves around because I got heavy inspiration from the Tartarus from Orion Blasters. Taffy helped me out showing me how that worked, but then it didn't work in the Ice Phoenix. So like the entire thing, it rotates around the barrel, because the barrel's already going through it, so like you have something to have stuff rotate around. But like do you have any like suggestions about trying to make it like easier to like make or anything like that?
No, because I have not dabbled in that level of blaster design, so I'm not the person to ask.
In general, when you look at principles for terms of like mass production and everything else, if you have people or friends around you that have like ideas, and kind of sometimes taking people that don't know your product as well, but might be just like a perspective on looking at it, and saying, if I gave you this item and had you put it in here, what would you find easier? So I think two things you want to look at is make sure that whatever they come up with, it might be that whatever your design is, without me now exploring it, I'm just using this as like a hypothetical, is that let's say right now, to put your system in a shell someone's created, and you realize there are 6 connection points. But of the 6 connection points, 2 are kind of complicated, but if you can figure it out, then you can do it. Eliminate that. Make it as simple as possible, where if it's 6 connection points and they're hard, make it only 4. Or you can make it easier, but it'd be 8 connection points to drop it in there. The other thing is make it kind of as compact or as easy as possible, where it's kind of like, to fit your piece into this object, I need it to look something like this, and then it'll fit. Whereas if you make it just like, for example, again, for lack of having it in my hand, make it like a simple square. So therefore, whenever someone designs a shell, they know what all they have to do is create a box or shell of this size that will fit. That'll be my recommendation, because it streamlines the process, and it makes it easier for people to drop it in.
The other thing is standard, easy to acquire hardware. So whatever screws it takes, whatever springs it takes, they need to be readily available and relatively inexpensive.
Exactly.
That's going to be my advice. I like the suggestion of referring to it as spring core.
Yes, I love it. All right, who's next? Who are you? Where are you from?
What are you doing on my lawn? What do you want?
Hello. I am placing dart drones all over your garden gnomes. And my name is Roman. I come from Texas, and I would like to give a shout out to Wolfguard Cosplay.
Yeah.
They reached out to me, I think.
Yes, and also giving me an addiction to many Nerf blasters. I started with 1, and now I have 6. Please help.
Yes, 6. Amateur. Those are
you well on your way.
And my
Maverick.
I just got done making a priming a Nerf deploy, and my question for Al is, how do you start making designs for your blasters, or do you just like reference them from games?
So sometimes find a place, first of all, where you get the most inspiration from. If it's video games or anything else, go ahead. For me, I think it's been a lot of movies. In the past, watching movies where you had master keys, where you had 2 or 3 blasters or weapons combined, I always thought that was cool, having that option, so that's where I got it from. After that perspective, it's almost like in fashion, like draping, where my I guess test bed is the floor, especially like, for example, if I wanted to combine blasters, I then clear a spot on the floor, put down what I decide to be my main blaster, and then kind of put pieces or parts in around it or lay over top of it to get a feel or look of what it is I'm looking for. So at that point, realize, it would look cool if I did this. No, this doesn't look right. Do it like that. I'm visual that way, and because I don't have any good CAD skills, for me, it's on the floor. Then after that, when it comes to painting a blaster, sometimes you got to simplify it. And the easiest way, as I tell people sometimes, is look at it almost like a coloring book. In terms of when you look at it, like, for example, let's look at this, right? And you think, how am I going to break it up? It's simple. Just like in a coloring book, you have a drawing, look for the lines. And know, all right, I got this section right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to color it that color. I'm going to color it this color. Once you break it down into sections like that, you'll be amazed at how much better you become at painting or like or decorating or whatever you want to do to a blaster by breaking at that point. But then after that, it's kind of resisting the urge not to go crazy where you've painted everything and it's like I've overdone it. So that's how I approach it, and that's what I found has worked for me. But ultimately, know yourself, and if what I tell you makes sense, do it. But otherwise, go with, just trust yourself and don't be afraid to try or fail. That's the big thing. Because I can't tell you how many blasters I've ruined and repainted before I actually got some of it right.
And my second question is, if you I'm thinking if you guys planning an event, I would say a round the country event. So you have 4 events all over different states of the country, and you make the final event in the hometown where WFA was made. What do you guys think about that?
Not that there is a hometown of WFA because everyone involved is spread around. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. We've got a guy in Canada. We've got people in Virginia, people in Maryland. I don't even know where the guy who actually is behind the camera, the curtain on all of this, I don't even know where he is.
The architect.
What?
The architect.
No. I favor the idea of changing it up, doing it in different locations, just so that, you know, sometimes the big event's in your backyard. Sometimes it's halfway across the country. That way, every once in a while, you don't have to be the one traveling.
And wow, that is actually a very interesting idea in which like it's in a different place. One time it could be in a war zone, the next time it could be in someone's backyard.
Yeah. A lot of it will come down to venues. Where can we get a location?
Where can you get the amount of darts to get them from?
Yeah, where can we find a place that's big enough or that has the facilities that we need or who are willing to have a bunch of weird blaster-wielding nerds running about slinging foam?
But it's also like not everyone can travel as far, or like at a drop of a dime, you can take a long weekend from work, school, life, or family and travel cross country and do it. Some of us can, some of us can't. So I think by being able to make sure events are happening all over the place, that way everyone gets a chance to actually come out and see it.
Yeah, and again, one of the goals of the WFA is like for the PvP tournament, we want to hold 8 qualifiers all around the country, so you don't have to travel far to get to your qualifier. But if you do end up having to travel to go to the final because you made it, there'll be resources to help you be able to do that. Either fundraisers for your local club or possibly sponsors on a national level. If events get big enough or teams get big enough, they might actually get sponsored by a major company. And it would be Paradox sponsored by Under Armour or what have you. So we'll see where it goes. That is still stuff they're figuring out as we go along. Absolutely. Nobody's interested. And it all falls apart. But I don't see that happening because seems to be a lot of interest. All right, who are you? What are you doing on my lawn? What do you want?
Howdy, I bring pizza.
No, you don't. That is a lie.
How's it going? I'm Squish. I've been a fan of your channel for a good long while, Cap, and recently discovered you, Al. Your stuff is amazing and beautiful. The skill with cosmetics is just impressive. So let's see here. What questions did I have for you? I had a couple. So with the Max Outlaw coming out as well as the Strife X, it very much feels like we're in the Hollywood sequels section of the hobby. So what do you think? What blaster is going to come next and be revamped?
So which one do I think is going to come next, or which one do I wish would come next?
Yes, both.
So my wish list.
I think the Rapid Strike is next.
Ooh, yeah.
It's probably going to be next. Either that or a ground up. They're going to build their own SMG kind of thing. Because they should make something that's either full auto or select fire. The strife was, let's make something absolutely solid, something standard, something that people have been modding for 10 years, and we can build off of all of that and make sure that the first thing we release is absolutely just a brick. There is no way that they could screw it up. And they brought in people from the hobby to make sure that that was the case. They made the absolute right choice. Now they have if it succeeds, they will have the flexibility to do something new. Something from the ground up, a whole new shell, a whole new design, do something like an actual functioning select fire, because they've done select fire. So, I mean, they could revamp the regulator, but
oh, that's true.
That would need a lot of work to get to pro level for a lot of reasons. Because pro stuff needs to be really, really robust. It is going to get knocked around. It needs to be completely reliable. It cannot be finicky. It cannot be prone to jams. It cannot have any issues, or people aren't going to get it.
Yeah.
That's, again, the beauty of the Strife, is if somebody buys that, they know it's going to work, because we know a 3S modded Strife works. We've had them for 10 years. They work.
It's the Honda Civic of blasters.
yeah, if they come up with something completely new, try to do the Lamborghini of blasters, and they fail, that's a serious problem. But again, the Rapid Strike is another one that's been around for a long time. It is a solid pusher mechanism. It is a solid design. It's a good, rifle-y looking thing. They're probably going to come out with something full auto next, would be my guess. Then they might start dabbling in something select fire, because that's a lot more complicated. A lot more things can go wrong. A lot more R&D needs to go into making it bulletproof. The rumor is that Hasbro isn't planning to make any Springers. Or at least that's what was said in an article on Verge, apparently, or something.
Okay. I was going to ask about that because it's not
weird.
a dated head dart. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that they wouldn't make a Pro Springer for a lot of, because they could just upgrade a long shot and release it, and we would buy that in a heartbeat, because the long shot has been around longer than the Strife has, and has been proven to be an absolutely solid, bulletproof platform if done correctly. The Alpha Trooper, I would love to see a pro-level Alpha Trooper.
Please, that would be fantastic.
Or better. But again, if they're not planning to do Springers, we're not going to see those. Maybe they'll change that in the future. Who knows? The fact that the darts they came out with, the AccuStrike darts have always lived up to the name. They are the most accurate darts that Hasbro has ever, or anyone has ever produced. But they don't work well in Springers, unfortunately. They work great in muzzle-loaded blasters. They work great in flywheelers. They don't work well in sealed barrels because the dart head's too big. And so the fact that their Pro Darts are AccuStrikes suggests that they're not planning to make Springers, because that would have been a really poor choice. Unless they're planning to come up with a separate Springer Pro Dart, which would be, I don't see happening. So
it's possible. Other companies have released multiple different types of dart. The bamboos.
But with Al, I think they're gonna lean into the flywheelers, which means the next one's gonna be a full auto, and hopefully the next one will be select fire, because that's the progression of complexity. Full auto is more complex than semi-auto. Select fire is much more complex.
Right.
I'd be really interested to see how they did it. Because Dart Zone's first select fire I thought was genius, because it was a mechanical
select that was really cool.
Which was wild. It wasn't as robust as it needed to be, was kind of the problem. And that's part of the problem of it being an experimental concept. No one had ever done that. There wasn't 10 years of research and R&D from the hobby to draw on to make sure that that was going to work well. But you took a Strife semi-auto and an auto Strife's full auto and combined it. It was genius. It just needed, I think, another 5 years of R&D to really be bulletproof. And then the Omnia, unfortunately, has different issues, but they're working on that. And I'm really hoping they can get it, because it feels like it would be solid if it was a little bit snappier. The problem was the delay, but apparently they're working on that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out. So,
well, on that note, we are coming near the end of this, and I think I know it's about that time, which is awesome. But I just want to remind everyone that's been listening that both that you have been listening to Get Off My Lawn. I am Al the Geek, and Captain Xavier is with me. And we will be doing this bi-weekly. So our next one is not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. And again, it's from 8 to 10. If you want to participate in it, you can find links for it on the worldfoamalliance.org website. Join the Discord, and through the Discord, you can actually call in and you can talk to us. You'll have a 5-minute time limit. Sometimes you may go more. Sometimes we'll cut you off quicker. Either way, you can have comments, have questions, or anything else. We would love that. The one thing I really want to stress and tell people is that go register at the worldfoamalliance.org. The other thing we're going to tell you about is that when you are registered, we're going to be randomly selecting someone at our next showing, and whoever we select, that person is going to win a T-shirt. So again, go register at the worldfoamalliance.org. The next time we actually do this show, we are going to do a giveaway. We're going to select someone that has registered, and you get a free World Foam Alliance T-shirt. As we progress, there will be bigger things. But hey, cut us a break, man. We gotta work on stuff. So we're doing T-shirts. But ultimately, there will be other merch, and I can tell you this: there's going to be blasters that I painted, and they will be doing giveaways for that as well.
We'll be doing stuff as well. There will be loot. There will be loot. All right. Clinically Insane, who are you? What are you doing on my lawn?
My name is Clinically Insane on Discord, but that's not really what I go by in the phone finging hobby. I just, like this name sometimes. Anyway, my name's Adam. I've been in this crazy little space for hobby space for about 5 years. And I had 2 questions. One of them has probably been asked already, as I haven't been here the whole time, but if so, I'll just go to the next one. Happy time zone, everybody. How are y'all? Anyway, so the first question is, what are y'all's thoughts on the issues coming out with the Omnia? It's curving a little bit, and the trigger has a bit of a delay.
Dark Zone is actually aware of it, and currently what's happening is they're really assessing in terms of what they're going to do next for it. I know they need this to be successful, and if you think about it just from a logistics perspective, you have Nerf coming out with the Striker X in October. So I have complete faith, because they're not dumb. They know what's coming too, and they got to get this. They got to get this hammered down. So I'm pretty sure they're well aware of what's going on, and they're already in the works of making corrections. And you'll probably see another production run. So yeah, I have faith in it. The one thing great about Dark Zone is they definitely listen to us. They definitely pay attention, and they will make the correction. What's your next question?
Well, I kind of need my camera for this one. Is there any way we can turn that on?
Apparently the camera can't be turned on.
I guess I'll cry then. Okay, so all right. So, last question is: do y'all have any other hobbies than Nerf? Like, I know everybody's about Nerf. What else do y'all do?
So I have a whole second YouTube channel that's my Lego channel. So Lego is my other.
I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah, nobody does. It's a secret. Captain Xavier's Lego channel. Or no, it's Brick Channel. I changed it because it used to be a Lego channel, but I was trying to become a Lego ambassador, but you can't have Lego in your channel name and be an ambassador. Anyway, yeah, Lego is my other big one. And I do some video games, but also Munchkin, the card game. I'm a huge fan of Munchkin. And Carcassonne, the board game.
That's cool.
I am a huge aviation buff. So one of the big things I do, man, is I collect die-cast model aircraft in the 1:72 scale, just because I suck at modeling. But then I buy them, and I have over 200 of these things, and I've been collecting them since 2001.
That is awesome. That's kind of related to what I do. My other one is in-scale model trains. So I got that kind of stuff. That's why I wanted to turn on my camera, because I got a layout in the other room that I wanted to show off. But here we are. I'll post pictures later in a related channel.
Post pictures, definitely.
But it's currently under work in progress. But the coolest thing is that they kind of the two hobbies, Nerf and trains, kind of cross occasionally, right? I have soldering skills, both of those used entirely. Arduino. I control my model trains with Arduino, and I've done a couple silly select fire stuffs with Arduino for Nerf. Those are the only two I can think of at the moment, but the skills cross over, and I think that it's really cool that happens. You can have multiple skills for multiple things. Looks like we got 1 minute here, so any comments, questions, concerns?
So I was going to say, I had the same thoughts on the Omnia that Al did. I had the same issues. My blaster hits a foot to the right at 25 feet, and that's a bit much. And there's a wicked delay on the trigger. You pull the trigger, and it takes so long for it to fire that I thought it was broken. And I mentioned, before I'd even gotten my video out, the representative that sends me the stuff, they sent out an open going, look, we've heard so much feedback about this that we realize this is a problem. This is unacceptable. We're going to fix it. Please hold off on your reviews. We're going to do another production run. We're going to fix the problems. We'll send you another one. We're going to make this right. And that's, for a company to be willing to do that, it says volumes about their willingness to go, oops. And it's kind of interesting because other people have gotten theirs and they're like, mine doesn't have that problem. So was it a very small production that had the problem? They didn't get the flywheel seated right. There was a problem with the code on the board. I don't know. But we'll see what happens when the second production run comes out. If they do, in fact, fix it, hooray. Because if that thing can be as solid as it feels like it should be, then that level of solid of a select fire blaster would be fantastic. very simple, no nonsense, no thrills, just the little switch that changes it. That would be great. So I'm hopeful. We'll see. All right. Apparently, we've got time for one more caller. They're on the deck here somewhere, or they were. There they are. They've still got their hand up. Cool. So let's get them in here. And before that, remember next Thursday or next Wednesday and every other Thursday Wednesday. So the alternating week of when this show is will be the Phone Zone with Dart Sweep, which will be more of a late night talk show. So there'll be long interviews with people from within the hobby instead of the little 5-minute one that we're doing. It'll be notable folks from the hobby being interviewed by Dart Sweep, and that's going to be cool to watch. I'm looking forward to tuning into that because there are so many people in this that I know their name, but I know nothing about them. Like I couldn't pick them out of a lineup, and that just is tragic. All right, Lego Boy, you here? Hello?
Well, we're at 2-hour time limit there, my friend.
Well, apparently the man behind the curtain has said we're going to do one more.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you can see that. I can't.
Assuming they show up.
Who is it? Who we got?
It's Lego Boy. He's down there. Okay, let's go. Come on. Pull yourself together. Aha!
There we go.
What are you doing on my lawn?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. So the first thing I wanted to ask was more just kind of a random question I had. What do you plan on bringing to Mall Madness in October?
I have no idea. I need to check through the rules because I know they changed a bunch. But I will probably bring my usual, unless a certain blaster that was supposed to get mailed today actually arrives in time. But I've put together my traveling kit fairly well. I'll probably have my hammer shots and my FDL3 and probably an Alpha Trooper because of the progression of leveling. Got to start with something simple and work your way up to the big stuff. So, not planning to bring anything crazy. So,
stickers.
My usual traveling.
This year they're actually rating based on magazines rather than blasters. So things that don't use magazines are going to be a lot better.
Interesting.
So they're kind of rating it for each magazine is 1 point, or 25 rounds of internal capacity is 1 point. So like a Villainator or a Tomcat would be 2 points, or a proton pack that can hold 300 rounds would be 6 points. 200 rounds would be 8 points.
Gotcha.
So I'm bringing a Winchester, and I'm going to be running around and dropping shells everywhere. So
It's on one on a hard floor. If you hit a shell, that could be like little marbles all over the ground.
Possibly. Well, we'll have to see if it becomes an issue. I have not had any issues with that with our laser tag arenas, but
there you go.
Our laser tag arena events. But yeah, no, we had one recently. I wasn't there because I was at APOC and BPOC, but.
I was trying to make it. I couldn't make it up to the event, and I heard it was great, so I definitely got to make it next year.
What do you got?
The only other thing I wanted to say real quick was somebody else earlier was mentioning gameplay footage.
Yes.
One thing I've actually been trying to do is make videos with gameplay footage on my own YouTube channel. And figuring out kind of what the best setups are so I can start working on getting maybe some information out there for other people who want to do it as well. But I really like watching and looking at what airsoft YouTubers do, because a lot of them have really, really good camera setups and really good ideas on how to edit gameplay footage to make it more interesting and engaging, especially for really big events that maybe you can get a large amount of footage and then you have to pare it down. Because I've had videos that I've posted before from like End War last year at RIT that are like hours long. So
yeah, and most of it's people walking around being bored.
Exactly.
Or just zombie just getting shot repeatedly and respawning for an hour. You're like,
my footage from all
yeah, there are definitely, the airsoft world has a lot of good stuff. The paintball world has a lot of good stuff. We should be taking inspiration from that. And hopefully getting stuff that people want to see. A lot of that is just, what do people want to see? Do they want the goofy stuff? Do they want the serious stuff? Do they want, the sniper footage or whatnot, because some we're limited by what Nerf is as compared to what airsoft is or paintball is. It's a different sport, and that's what makes it worthwhile. If they were all the same, why have three? But there's a lot of different things about Nerf, things you can do with Nerf you can't do with airsoft or paintball, and places you can do it that you can't. And we need to figure out what is working and figuring out what people want to see and lean to our, work to our strengths.
Yeah.
Good points.
Alrighty, well that's all for me.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Right. Well, this has been the first episode of Get Off My Lawn. I'm Captain Xavier. That's Al the Geek, depending on which side of the screen he's on for you. We are every other week, and the alternating weeks will be another show. There will be more shows as well. I'm planning to do a range on the range, which will be, again, be on the range, but you guys will get to pick what I'm shooting. And there'll be like surveys potentially, or various list of options, or people's choice, whatever. I'll probably be shooting like what's the newest thing that I've got. I'll take that to the range, and then there'll be what ammo type do you want me to fire, and I'll get a couple of blasters from that and things along that line. So it'll be me plinking on the range while answering questions and talking to you guys. So that should be fun. And then Al, what's your show?
My show is actually called The Forge. So, as always, I have a lot of people ask me how I do things, how I make things. So finally, we'll be looking at different things I do in terms of painting, in terms of combining, especially master keys. So there'll be actually features and episodes in terms of how to make a master key, how to make long barrels, how to paint a blaster, things like that, and it will be called The Forge with Al the Geek.
Yeah, excellent.
And there's going to be a couple others, but I think right now that is what we got. So again, don't forget to register on the worldfoamalliance.org, and we are giving a T-shirt away our next episode. So that is August 30th. We're going to pick someone that has actually registered, and you will get a free T-shirt.
Apparently, Archer is going to be doing a podcast too.
Hey, cool!
Awesome. I will definitely be watching that. That sounds fun. Who are you? Oh.
Who's that?
The time is now. The time has come. Run for it. The man behind the curtain is shouting at us.
That's right.
Run away.
All right, well, everyone, thanks again. And remember, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Until next time.